All right, we're back. We're all back, it seems. We are going to do the most gangster beverage company on earth, Arizona Tea, coming to us by the Fat Files with Fat Electrician. So, link in the description below. Go over there, watch his content, show him love, and we're going to get this rolling.
All right, this is easily the most
See what
requested
this is all
business for me
about.
to look into. Today we're talking about Arizona Tea, and I think the reason so many people have requested this is fairly obvious. Clearly, Arizona is up to something, selling these giant cans of tea for 99 cents, which right out of the gate feels weird, but then it gets even weirder when you realize that they've been selling that same can of tea for the same exact price since 1992. Okay,
That's what I was saying. They've been 99 cents for as long as I can remember.
inflation has gone up 124% since then, meaning that if they just wanted to maintain everything, that can of tea should cost at least $2.24. Okay, bear in mind, we live in a world where as of 2021, the Dollar Tree is now the $1.25 tree, okay? The only other product that is sacred is the Costco $1.50 hot dog.
Shit.
And to make that even kind of feasible, Costco had to go out and buy 2 hot dog making factories, and they still lose money on it, okay? The only reason Costco's staying in business is because they make so much money on all the other things they sell, they can just afford to take a loss on the hot dog, which makes the Arizona Tea can absolutely insane because it's the equivalent of Costco only selling hot dogs. They have to be losing money. It doesn't even seem feasible. They're clearly up to something, and we're going to get into it right after a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Rocket Money, your all-in-one finance app that's going to help you cancel subscriptions, lower your monthly bills, and all right, our story begins with the owner of Arizona Tea, John Voltaggio. In the 1970s, he was a truck driver for an alcohol distribution service. Essentially, he was driving a truck around the city and he would deliver all the alcohol to convenience stores and gas stations, and he did that for years. After doing this for years, him and his co-worker John Ferrolito decided they're going to start their own distribution service. However, as I'm sure you can imagine, that's a very tough business to get into, and initially the only clients that they could get were all the convenience stores and gas stations on the sketchy part of town that nobody else wanted to deliver to, but they did it anyways. Then, after they had a fairly successful
gotta do what you gotta do, you know?
distribution service, they figured, hey, we're already carrying all these different types of beverages to deliver them to all the convenience stores, and we have those relationships. What if we started our own brewery and started making our own alcoholic beverage, and then we could just have one more product to be able to offer all these clients? So they did, and that was fairly successful also. So now that they have their own alcohol, they have to figure out how to market it. This is where John Voltaggio really figures out how to market a product, and he looks around at all the other successful products in the alcohol market in the 1980s. And let's just call a spade here. The 1980s is the pinnacle of the sleazy advertisement era, okay? I mean, we've got Camels trying to sell children-flavored cigarettes, and we've got every alcohol company on the planet desperately trying to convince you that if you drink fucking Bud Light or Coors Light or whatever, a supermodel is going to be attracted to you and your beer gut. So
I remember those days.
Voltaggio learning how to market a product, he's like, okay, step 1, make it cool. Step 2, have a supermodel with huge cans, promote it. Easy. They then proceed to name their beer Midnight Dragon, which is the coolest fucking name for a beer I've ever heard, and this is in 2024. If you adjust for inflation, it had to have been way cooler back in the 1980s. I mean, even today, that's a brilliant name. Imagine going over to your buddy's house, he opens up the fridge. Oh, what did you want to drink? We've got Miller Lite and Midnight Dragon. Dragon? I mean, at that point, you could literally be a Miller Lite guy, and you're still gonna try at least one Midnight Dragon. You have to. So, step 1, make it cool. Check. Step 2, make it sexy, right? Sex sells. I present to you their first ever advertisement, a beer poster of a model in red lingerie holding a 40 of Midnight Dragon with a straw.
Yeah, with a straw.
I could suck on this all night.
That's some straight up 80s shit. Early 90s, 80s, all day.
The fact that it's a 40 is just completely outrageous. Like, the notion that anyone in the history of mankind has ever been drinking a 40 while simultaneously also concerned about smearing their lipstick is just completely unhinged. Like, I need a part 2 of this beer advertisement. I know that straw doesn't reach the bottom of that 40. What happens when the straw doesn't reach anymore? Do you just throw it away and get another 40? Or are you going to be so drunk off the first 20 ounces you're not going to care about your lipstick anymore? I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Anyway, so this goes on until like 1990, and John Voltaggio Voltaggio, while he's
That was
delivering
the
beer one
80s
day, there's another
sugar pride
distributor
drink.
there, and he's actually dropping off a bunch of Snapple. And John Voltaggio is just like captivated by it because it's the middle of winter. Why on earth would anybody be drinking iced tea in the middle of winter? It doesn't make any sense to him, but apparently a bunch of people enjoy it, so he's like, that's it. I'm going to start selling tea. So the first thing Don has to figure out is the proposition, right? Why would anybody drink his tea over Snapple? Snapple's already an established brand. So he starts to thinking on how he's going to set
Because Snapple is anti-weed.
himself different, how he's going to set himself apart, how he's going to be better. Now, I'm just guessing, but I'm assuming at this point he refers back to all of his experience, all of his knowledge, all of the lessons that he's learned from marketing and distributing beer over the past decade. And when you distill all that knowledge down, he knows that you have to make it cool and you have to make it sexy, right? Because sex sells. The problem is iced tea isn't exactly an adult beverage. There might be a lot of kids drinking this beverage too, and having some model with huge cans marketing it might be a little aggressive for something that children might be drinking, and then it hits him. Huge cans. We'll get rid of the model and just keep the giant cans. Okay, now like the textbook business term for this strategy is called a value proposition. Basically, he's decided that Snapple is 16 ounces and it costs like, I don't know, $1.29, whatever it costs. He's coming in and he's like, cool, I'm gonna sell more. I'm gonna sell 23 ounce cans and I'm gonna sell it for less. I'm gonna sell it for 99 cents. That's the value proposition. You're gonna get more for less. Okay, that's what a textbook's gonna tell you, but I'm dubbing this the big can strategy, right? Because we've seen this time and time again, okay? Think about Monster Energy. Monster Energy was not the first energy drink to ever hit the market. That was Red Bull. Monster Energy just came along and was like, oh hey, Red Bull's only selling these little 8-ounce cans of energy drinks. What if I doubled the size and sold 16-ounce cans and gave it an even cooler logo? Boom, multi-billion-dollar business right out of the gate. And you know the kicker with that, one of the top executives that helped initially launch Monster and market it was a top-level executive at Arizona previously, so he knew exactly what he was doing with the big can strategy. In Don Voltaggio's own
Makes sense.
words, his marketing strategy is, and I quote, put tea in a big can and paint it pretty. Okay, if you learn nothing else from this video, just remember, people like big cans.
And paint it
Did you
pretty.
say my name?
No, why?
You said big cans.
Yeah?
Well, that was my nickname in high school.
What?
Yeah, I
Makes
can tell you that
sense.
story.
No.
Yeah, so it all happened back in 2009. I was a friend.
Sorry, what?
Are you paying attention?
Yeah. No, I heard all of it.
Okay.
Sorry, anyways, we've got the business model. Classic value proposition, give more for less. Super simple, easy to market, great tried and true business strategy. Next thing, what are we gonna name the company? So Don's thinking on it, he goes back home to his wife and he's looking at his house and he lives in this like Spanish colonial or sometimes referred to as Santa Fe style home. And he's like, cool, I'm just gonna call it Santa Fe tea. When you think of tea, you think of hot, the desert, Santa Fe is perfect. We're gonna slap Santa Fe on the can. He does a couple of designs. The word Santa Fe just, it doesn't look right. It doesn't fit. So he's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna say Arizona tea. Don's never even set foot in Arizona, but he's like, it's fine. We're just gonna call it Arizona tea. It'll be good.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, next thing, gotta make the cans cool. Don's wife volunteers. She's gonna design all the cans. Perfect. We got everything we need. So now Don and John Farolito are gonna go to the bank, get a loan, and start their tea company. The bank hates it. They think it's a horrible, stupid idea, but they reluctantly end up giving the loan anyways for a couple of reasons. One, they're already successful businessmen. They already have a ton of money and collateral. And B, sometimes you just gotta bet on the player and not the game. So the bank, while they were wrong, they ended up making the right decision and loaned them the money to get started. So 1992, Arizona tea hits the shelves for the first time and pretty much is immediately outrageously successful. And from here, it's pretty much 3 decades of Don Voltaggio being a fucking gangster about absolutely everything. Don wakes up one morning, decides he wants to start selling giant 1-gallon jugs of tea. He starts making the tea, takes it to the distributor. The distributor's like, hey, this is never gonna sell. At which point Don is like, cool, you're never right about anything. Go ahead and put it on the shelf anyways. We'll see what happens. Now it's in like every grocery store in America. He decides he wants to come out with a new flavor of tea, honey and ginseng green tea, and then he has his wife design this beautiful can, at which point he takes a bunch of criticism like, hey, men are never gonna drink that tea because it's a girly colored can, at which point he's like, fine, I'll just sell it to women then. Fast forward a decade later, it's their best-selling flavor and probably one of the most iconic product designs of all time, and it's all because he had his wife's back like a complete badass. He would also get a bunch of shit because he wasn't doing any marketing. Like, he had no marketing department whatsoever, to the point that whenever companies or interviewers or news sources would ask, you know, hey, how big is your marketing department? He would reply,
If you got something good, it will sell itself. More or less It seems to work that way across the board, whether it's selling something or if you build it, they will come. If it's quality shit,
Pretty big. About 6'8", in fact, referring to himself because he was the only guy that did any marketing, which honestly wasn't much. They weren't worried about product placements and being a Super Bowl commercial and all this other dumb shit that all the other brands do, because Don knew that he had the value proposition on his side. He knew that he was selling more tea for less, and he was putting it inside of a cool can, and the product would sell itself, and he was absolutely right. Okay, fast forward to 2008, Arizona Tea is huge. They have their own factory, everything's paid off, they're making a ton of money, they're the #1 ready-to-drink tea brand in the country. At this point, the company is worth over $1 billion, and John Farolito, who over the past decade has become more and more of a quiet partner as Don just kind of took everything over and John just got to, reap the rewards, he comes out and he's like, hey, we could literally sell this company and make billions of dollars and just be retired billionaires that wake up and do whatever the fuck.
it can't always be all about the money, though. That's how a bunch are, the majority are, but you can't always be all about the money.
We want all day, every day. We should sell the company. To which Don was like, no, absolutely not. I'm not selling this company because if I sell this company, what are my sons going to do? Both his sons were his top level executives with him, literally his right and left hand man. And he knew that if he sold out, he wasn't going to get to hang out with his sons because every single day, Don Voltaggio has a 2-hour family style lunch with both of his sons and his wife inside of his big ass office in his factory. Okay, just so we're all on the same page, Don Voltaggio could have cashed out and been a billionaire with a fucking B and said, nah, I'd rather hang out with my kids. Go fuck yourself. That is the most gangster thing I think I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, imagine how his sons feel about him after that. You know what I mean? Like, imagine going to work with your brother and your dad all day, every day, knowing that the only reason that you're there right now was because your dad got offered to be a billionaire. Like, basically a king or an emperor of capitalism in America, essentially. Like, your dad could have just been like the guy doing whatever he wanted for the rest of his life. But no, he decided he was going to have your back instead, and now you get this awesome job with your family. Like, it's
awesome.
dad goals to a degree that I didn't even know existed. So this obviously leads to a little
This
bit
all
of a falling
says so
out between
much,
Don and
and-
John. John obviously wants to sell. He wants to take his money and run, which kind of understandable. So he's like, you know what? Fine. Don, you keep your half of the company. I'm going to take my half and I'm going to go sell it to some investment firm or something, and I'm going to get my money and I'm going to retire. To which John Voltaggio is like, no, you're not. Absolutely not. You are not about to sell half of my company to some investment firm that's going to want to take it public, and then an army of MBAs is going to march in here and try to tell me how to run my business that I built from the ground up when none of them have accomplished anything at all. Okay, I'm worried about
Exactly.
taking care of my employees and my family and putting a lot of tea in pretty cans, and these MBAs are going to march in here and they're going to be
Fuck
worried
it
about
all
one
up.
thing, and that's getting a return on their investment, which is a
As
fancy
soon
way
as
of saying
possible.
they're trying to make money for doing fucking nothing. So Don and John go to court and battle it out for the next 8 years. They reach a confidential agreement outside of court. Nobody knows what it was. Nobody knows the terms. Nobody really knows what happened. All we know is that John got paid out $1 billion, and now Don Voltaggio owns 100% of Arizona Tea as of 2015. So clearly, they just paid out $1 billion. It's been 23 years. They have to raise the price of the tea, right? Absolutely not. Don is 100% against
It's
it.
not
He's going
broke,
to do
don't fix
anything and
it.
everything he can to not raise the price of the 99-cent can. What on earth could his reasoning possibly be? You know what? I'm just going to let him tell you.
Why not increase the price and therefore increase the profit?
We're successful. We're debt-free. We own everything. Why have people who are having a hard time paying their rent have to pay more for our drink? Maybe it's my little way to give back.
This dude's just a complete gangster. I don't know what else to tell you. That dude literally has woken up every day for the past 3 decades and just told inflation to go fuck itself. He's literally the only multi-billion-dollar CEO that came out and was like, you know what? I'll just make less money. That is completely unprecedented, okay? Like, I love capitalism. I think it is the greatest system that humans have ever come up with. That being said, it's got a ton of shortcomings, and it would be so much better if everybody acted like that. Buh! This is all a complete lie because last time I saw one at the gas station, it was over $1. Buh! Yeah, that does happen. That's actually the local store that you're at, marking the
Exactly.
price up higher than MSRP. Arizona Tea still sells their product below $1 and recommends that they sell it for 99 cents. If other companies raise it more than that, Arizona can't really do anything about it. So yeah, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that your local convenience store is scalping tea. It's the world we live in. So other than Don simply being willing to just make less money, buy a smaller yacht, if you will, what else is Arizona Tea doing to cut costs to maintain this price point? Over time, they've done quite a few different things, one of which is they actually changed from selling 23-ounce cans to 22-ounce cans. And the reason they did that wasn't by selling, you know, 1 less ounce of tea is going to save us all this money. They didn't really give a shit about the tea itself. What they did was they went to the can manufacturer and said, hey, we want you to make our cans thinner and use 40% less aluminum so that we save a bunch of money on the raw material end. So they actually ended up making the can a tiny bit smaller and then making it significantly thinner all the way around and having a different top so that they could save a bunch of money on the can itself. In addition to that, they also figured they could save a bunch of money on fuel by not delivering their tea during the day to all the different stores. All their trucks run exclusively at night. Okay, just so we're all on the same page, just so we're all hearing what I'm saying. In order for Arizona Tea to maintain their cheap price point for the rest of us, they're also gonna make us suffer by reducing the amount of traffic. This might be my favorite company on the planet. They need to add that to the marketing, honestly. Big cans, pretty, there's less fucking traffic, okay? It's a trifecta. Okay, do you understand how crazy that is? Like, before, they were just saving you money. But now, in order to keep saving you money, they're also being forced to save you time, okay? It violates the laws of physics somehow. It has to.
Damn, Neil deGrasse Tyson! How are you doing that?
It's physics, Terry. It's physics.
Well, their drivers are more efficient in that manner too. Less dead time on the road or going slower than necessary because of traffic. So you'd end up paying your drivers or your delivery people a hair less over time as well. It's all well done. Having employees, that's the hard one too this day and age especially, but having employees that actually give a shit about the job they're doing.
This is my new favorite company, okay? I don't even drink Arizona Tea. I'm starting today. Okay, that's it. That's all I got. I thought for sure Arizona Tea was gonna be up to something like every other company I look into, but no, they're not up to anything nefarious. They're not secretly being funded by the government. It's just Don Voltaggio, the owner, woke up every day for 30 years and decided to be a fucking badass. When they told him his 1-gallon jug of tea idea was dumb and it wasn't gonna work, he said, cool, I'm gonna go ahead and sell it anyways, and it worked. He believed in himself. When his wife designed this awesome can and they said nobody's gonna buy it because it's girly, he said, cool, I'm gonna sell it anyways. He believed in his wife and he was a good husband. When it came time to sell out, retire, and be a billionaire, he said, but then I'm not gonna get to hang out with my sons. He had his kids back. He was a good dad. And when the time came to raise prices because everybody else was doing it, he said, nah, I don't need to make more money. I'll just make less. He was a good person. And despite all of that, despite the fact that he did everything wrong and he put money last as the business owner and the guy running the show, he still ended up being a billionaire worth over $6 billion. And more importantly, he gets to have lunch with both of his boys every single day, which is something I don't think any other billionaire can say. And in a lot of ways, that probably makes him the richest man on earth. So in my opinion, that's the key to Arizona Tea's success. Don't chase the money, chase the goal. The money will come after. Even if the goal is something as simple as putting a lot of tea in a big can and making it pretty. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out.
As always, Fat Electrician, great information. It's not often, it seems like, that the super rich seem to care that much about their family either. So that was interesting to see. And you don't always have to just follow the path that's already been proven by others. You can do things differently if it makes sense or doesn't seem ineffective to do so. So yeah. All in all, awesome video. I think we might have all got learnt a hair. Until next time, y'all take it easy. We'll do this again sometime.